Hi, everyone, and welcome to this episode of Ask a Death Doula. My name's Suzanne O'Brien. Today, such an important topic. We are doing the Good Death podcast series. And yes, we have the launch of the Good Death book. Please pre-order your book and get a ticket to the free masterclass. The Good Death book is like the what do you expect when you're expecting for the opposite end of life. We do so much preparing for these little bundles of joy coming into this world, and we're not doing nearly enough for the opposite end of life. And here's the thing, it can go well, really well, with the right education, kindness, and support, something we're all going to be touched by. So grab your book. Let's change the world. Okay, today's podcast, an amazing one. So we're going to talk about quality of life, and what does quality of life mean to you subjectively, and why that should be the benchmark for when you choose to pursue aggressive treatment or not, or opt for comfort care. And I'm also going to share with you the top questions to ask your doctor when a serious illness comes about in our lives. It's going to be life-changing. I'll see you in the episode. Oh, good evening, everyone. Thank you so much for being here. Welcome to your live event. We have people that are still joining us, so it's so great to see you. Let's first jump in the chat if we can. Let's just say hello to everyone that is joining us, and I know you guys have already been doing that. Elmira, hello. Erica, hello. Michelle, Regan, Julie, Kim. We have people from all over. It looks like Brooklyn, Ohio, Colorado. Lee is here from Michigan. Michelle is here from Alabama. Thank you so much. Jana from Maine. Kim is here from Virginia. Maxine from Philadelphia. Cindy from Phoenix, Arizona. Hello to you all. Teresa from Washington. Elvira, I think that's it, from Toronto. And I'm sorry if I mispronounced that. Susan from Michigan. Tina from Oregon. Hello, Ginny. So good to see you. Gina is here from California. Connie from Connecticut. Erin from Nashville. Denise from Virginia. Rena, California. I love it. Jennifer is here. Lori is here. Sharon is here from Canada. Thank you so much. Gloria is here. Maureen is here. Yes, so many Canadian beautiful people in the house. And we have Texas in the house. Maryland from Deborah's from Maryland. I saw England was in the house. Colorado is in the house, New York City. Thank you all so much for being here. South Carolina is here. You guys are just bubbling all over, and it's so beautiful to have you here. I want to thank you, and I really want hello from Israel. Thank you, Shaba. Yeah, we are sending so much love to everyone in the world, and it's just a reconfirmation about how connected we are, right? And honestly, so many times we'll talking about end of life is talking about life. And the fact that we've removed it, we've really removed the humanity that threads all of our experiences together, because we are in this beautiful thing called life together, and it's time to show up. And that's really where this comes into place, because I'm going to just share with you why I spend so much time in this space, educating and trying to share everything that I know in order to help you and your families to have a better end of life and a better life experience. So it's just an honor to be with you, knowing that your time is your greatest commodity. And I will tell you that I am very appreciative that you've chosen to spend this time with us. So without further ado, what we're going to do is quiet the chat. I'm going to come back on periodically when I have a group question and discussion that we're going to be doing. But right now, what we're going to do is we're going to quiet that chat, and then I'll come back in on it. But I don't want to waste another minute, not wasted, but I want to jump right in, because tonight, what we're going to be doing, and each one of these seminar series stand alone. So you can come to one, or you could come to all 12. And I know that we have a lot of people who have been here since the beginning. This is number 5. So I'm going to share my screen right now, and I am going to go into our presentation. And what I'm going to do is set it up, share for a minute, and then when it's full screen in a second, here we go. I'm going to ask you for a thumbs up that you can see the Good Death Seminar Series from Doula Givers. Just give me a thumbs up so that we know that we are there. Thank you so much for that confirmation. So welcome, everyone. This is the Good Death Seminar Series. We are going to do, again, some group discussions, and we'll also have a Q&A at the end. So I want to share this with you. Making a choice based on the desires of others or incomplete information can lead you down a path you may not be able to reverse. And what we're talking about is when we're choosing care at the end of life. I want you to focus on you and your values and your choices. And that's what this webinar is about. I'm going to discuss what the overview is going to be. I think everyone can probably resonate. And I know that everyone means well. But because we don't talk about this subject and don't plan for it when it does show up, and by the way, 100% of the time it's going to show up for all of us. And it doesn't have to be a terrible thing at all. It can actually be a really beautiful part of life, and it's a natural part. But when we are influenced by others and when we don't make choices ourselves, it can start what I call a path that we can't reverse. And oftentimes that's not what people want. So before we jump into seminar number 5 tonight, I just want to do a quick recap of the seminars 1 through 4. So the first one, probably one of my favorites, although it's like children, I don't think that you can pick a favorite. They're all very different, was how we just forgot that death is a natural part of the life's journey. And by the way, it used to be revered as a sacred rite of passage. We've lost that in the last 100 years. And that webinar, that first seminar, was talking about all of the thousands of years in different cultures and what they thought about death, the relationship with death, and also what people said about it at the end of life, which is something that is, to me, teaches us everything about life. So it opens up a whole different perspective, and it's something that's lost today, which is, I think, again, resulting in what we see in the world. The second seminar was about the hospice gap, and I want you to know that there's never anything that we're doing to create judgment or be negative ever. But what we are doing is becoming crystal clear on where we were, where we are now with our medical system and the support, and the gaps that are there because of the reimbursement system, because of the way that the fragmented healthcare system is, and that hospice gap, which most people don't realize that 98% of the hands-on end-of-life care in the home, even with hospice on board, is done by family caregivers. So there's the teaching and there's gaps in there that we want to fill. The third seminar was advanced directives, and advanced directive is exactly that. It's what you're talking about for your advanced care, what you would want or not want. And we talk about the documents that an advanced directive is. And then, of course, we give you the secret pearl. It's not so secret now, hopefully, to you, called the POST form, which is a POLST, which is a physician order life-sustaining treatment, which makes your wishes a medical order that is a binding by law that has to be followed. And then the Good Death Seminar number 4, it's all about healthcare proxies, how to pick them, what they do, and also what do you do if you don't have one. So today, seminar number 5, and again, all these stand alone, we're going to talk about, this is something I think that is probably one of the most important things that I teach, is what is quality of life? What does it mean to you? And when should quality of life, and why this should be the benchmark, and again, it's the benchmark for how you choose to move forward or not with care based on decisions that are made from informed, subjective information and the top questions to ask your doctor when given a serious illness. So what I want to do is go in and talk to you tonight about what is quality of life? How do you measure it for yourself? And really, again, emphasizing how quality of life is going to be unique and individual to each and every one of us. What brings your day joy? And then if it came to a point where you did have something that was a serious illness or diagnosis, the top questions that you should be asking your doctor so that you can make informed, subjective decisions for yourself on what you want to do. And if I may, I just would like to introduce myself. My name's Suzanne O'Brien. I am a registered nurse by trade. I'm a former hospice, which is end-of-life nurse, and oncology, which is cancer nurse. I have over 20 years of experience working at the bedside of over 1,000 end-of-life patients. And I have been honored and privileged to train over 350,000 people on how to care for their loved ones at the end of life. Remember when I talked about that hospice gap? Remember when I said that 98% of the hands-on care at end of life, even with hospice on board, is done by family caregivers? That's the gap. As the hospice nurse, I'm supposed to teach the loved ones how to do that end-of-life care. When I'm only there for 1 hour once a week, that does not allow that time. Also, the fear that's associated with end of life, the late time process that people come on hospice services, those elements are working against everything. And that's why we give that training for free. And we've been doing that from all over the world. And my why I literally live and breathe this work because it's my calling. And I think that, when you have a calling, it's something that you have information that can change people's lives. And I remember that because people can't go back and do that end of life again with their loved one. And I remember that the minute that I started working in this space, and I literally said, if I help one family, it's worth it all. And now we've been able to work and do so much more. Now, remember, I've had a background within the medical system, within hospice care, within oncology cancer care, and I've been able to work with people around the world in this end-of-life space. I have a lot of knowledge here, and I want to impart that knowledge to you. So this is my why that I get on here, because if I can help one of you today to have a better end of life for yourself and your loved ones, it's a win. I think we're going to do much more than that, but this is why we're here. In the seminar tonight, you're going to understand what quality of life means to you and how it serves as the key benchmark for medical decision-making. Number 2, you're going to gain clarity on how to focus on symptom management for the highest quality of daily living when curative care is no longer attainable. And you're also going to learn the most important questions to ask your doctor when facing a critical or a serious diagnosis. So part 1, understanding quality of life. Quality of life is subjective. That means it's unique to you. It's a deeply personal, and only you can determine what it means for you. So let's use an example. Maybe you're somebody who absolutely loves playing bridge. Maybe you're somebody who absolutely thrives on interacting with family. Maybe you're someone who loves to go outside every day, take a little walk, or even sit outside, and that gives your day joy. So there's things in the day that make up joy. Once that quality of life is below a 50% and you can't find those moments of joy in your day, your quality of life is not really there. And that's kind of what you want to benchmark. When would be a time for you that you would not want your life extended? Because we know how to keep people alive, but keeping people alive and living are very different things. When would you not want it extended when the quality of life is not there for you? And that's going to be subjective. So the key points on quality of life is it should be the benchmark for when you're making medical decisions, when facing that serious illness. Because at a certain point, and I know that we can do a lot of things as a medical practitioner. We've learned how to keep people alive. We know how to do that. But again, keeping alive and living are two very different things. When would you not want measures to keep going, your heartbeat, and keep you breathing when there's no quality of life for you? When would you want to really be focusing on quality symptom management? So let's have a group discussion. I'm going to ask you to put some answers in the chat. What does quality of life mean to you? So if you would, share an example of what brings your day joy and really think about this. And I'm going to open up that chat again. And I really want to hear, let's get a really good feel from everybody of what makes your day worth living. What brings you joy on a daily basis? So that's what we want to see here. I want to see, make sure that we are seeing the chat box. So if I'm not, forgive me, but turning it on and off, gardening, I love that. Karen, that's beautiful. Okay, great. Puppies, I love it. Okay, wonderful. Being in nature, yes. Walking in the woods. Oh, I am right there with all of this. Time with my cats, I love it. Bird watching, gorgeous. Love this. My children, grandchildren, eating your foods I like, music theater, my dogs, riding my bike, traveling, music, holidays, yes. Going horse riding, good for you. Sunrises, I love that. Sunsets are my thing. Grandbabies, connection, friends. Yeah. Cuddling with my partner. So cute, Kate. Thank you so much for that. Reading. I love it. Yeah. Exploring my state. Thinking in terms. Okay. So thinking in terms, everyone, on what brings your day joy, because may I just say that what I've learned working with people from the end of life is that We just don't know how many days that we have being gifted in this journey. But what I do know is that if I treat every day like its own little lifetime, and I know that can be challenging at times depending what's going on, and I make sure that I make the important things happen, that I don't miss the sunset, that I don't miss being present, the things that bring me joy, even within all of the other things that we're doing, then it's a really beautiful thing, right? How many days I have, I can look back and say used well. And I think that that is really important. So thank you for all that. So many really good things that you guys all shared. And that's really important. So, okay. So thank you for that. And if it gave you some ideas, which it did me reading some of those things, that is an amazing thing too, because your life and every single day should have joy in it. Music, your puppies, nature, you should, and if you don't have that, it is time to really start incorporating some of those things. So decisions that are based on maintaining and improving quality of life helps avoid unnecessary pain and suffering. It avoids going on what I call the medical treadmill. And again, never to get negative here, but unfortunately, let's just get very clear about the fact that we don't talk about end of life for the most part. Death is the number one fear in the world. Why? It shouldn't be. In fact, I've learned everything about how to live and really live in alignment, in service, fully connected, not sweating the small stuff, because I've been working with people at the end of life, what they've shared with me, what it has taught me. We've removed that. And when we remove that, we go into what's called like a default kind of system. And I've seen so many people go into this state, trying this, trying that, going through surgeries or being in the hospital and having their end of life show up regardless, because at a certain point, things are not reversible. So you want to weigh out what makes sense to you. So again, when we think about it ahead of time, we not only save in stress, we not only save in actual money, because if things are very expensive sometimes when we're going down those treatments, but we also save unnecessary pain and suffering that should not, it's already difficult, not just for ourselves, but for our families as well. Avoiding the unnecessary difficult part of it is something that we can do when we discuss ahead and plan on when quality of life and symptom management is at the forefront of my journey. So recognizing when curative care is no longer attainable. So let's talk about that. When extending life is no longer attainable, it's time to shift our focus from trying to cure a disease to tight symptom management. And here's what I want to share with you. As a hospice nurse, as a doula giver, we have gotten people's, with good symptom management, we have gotten people's quality of life higher than it has been in 30 years. Because when you're managing symptoms, when you're really on top of it, pain, nerve pain, nausea, whatever it may be, all of those things, you can get the quality of life really high. At a certain point, no matter how much we try, and again, I want to bring something in with the language that we use as medical professionals. If it's a battle with end of life, you know, we hear he lost his battle with cancer. If it's a battle, we're all going to lose that battle, right? At some point. So have we maybe subconsciously even created more of this fear around the end of life that is adding to the removal of wanting to plan, wanting to know about it, wanting to do anything for it? And with that, when we don't do any of that, when it shows up, we don't have a roadmap. We don't have a plan, not just for ourselves, but for our families. At a certain point, no matter how great the doctor is, no matter how much we try, at a certain point, we're all going to be at that end of life place. And right now, I have to tell you, we treat doctors when their patient fails. I mean, when their patient dies, like they failed. I've had doctors walk down the hallway when their 98-year-old patient finally had their end of life because the cancer was all over their body after years, with their head down, thinking that they failed. That is an unfair burden to put on doctors, and it's also a very dangerous place that we can get in ourselves as well. So when extending life is no longer attainable, it's time to shift that focus from curative measures to tight symptom management. And the key word is tight there. With good symptom management, you can change someone's life. Tight symptom management can help you achieve the highest quality of daily living for every day that you have. I want to roll this back for a minute, not just at the end of life space. Because we have longevity of our lifespan now, it has almost doubled in the last 100 years. People are now living with chronic illnesses. So what they have is chronic pain and different processes. And it is a real problem as far as I'm concerned, as far as we don't have the setup for it. But this tight symptom management called palliative care should be implemented again in the highest level for our aging at a certain point, not just for end of life, because the longer we live, we know that we are living with complications. So the goal for all of us should be highest quality of daily living for every single day that we have. This shift often allows individuals to spend their remaining time in comfort rather than enduring unnecessary pain from futile treatments. Nobody is trying to do something bad. Nobody is ever trying to do anything. I think that we are just moving in such a fast pace. And when we don't choose for ourselves, then it goes into the recommended and whatever the next step is. And unfortunately, that can add to a lot of additional suffering at the end when the disease process can't be reversed. It is a very important time to say, I just want to be comfortable, go home and pick what your choices are. Now, I want to tell you a story of these two men. These two men were both 80 years old and both diagnosed with lung cancer within a month of each other. One of them, on the right-hand side, decided, he said, I've lived a good life. I'm going to go home. I'm going to go on hospice. And he did. The other gentleman went into what you call chemotherapy treatment and radiation right away. So the doctor said, Monday, you are starting the regimen. We're starting Monday, and it was all very very shock. Now, both men lived a year, but the year was very different for both of them. So the one that went into the chemotherapy, the radiation, again, it's not a choice that I should be choosing. It's an individual choice, but I don't know what all of their measures were and questions were. However, that person who went into the aggressive treatments was very sick for most of that year. And because the chemotherapy is a hard course to endure, all of it. And the gentleman on the right was gardening and he was telling jokes up until the last week, they told me, and he was at home. And who do you think actually lived longer by a month? It was just by a month. The man on the right. But that year of his life was so full of visitors and of quality time and of doing things that he wanted. So really taking your time to think about these and what's right for you with all of the information that you can gather is what you need to do. There's no right or wrong in whatever you choose. You need to choose for yourself. So let's talk about how would you prioritize symptom management versus curative treatments in the context of a serious illness and when? We've talked about the importance of it. We talked about the benchmark. So if you had a serious illness that could not be reversed, would you, let's just jump in the chat and say, would you really want that tight symptom management that we described? Or would you want to keep trying different options and just kind of go into that space? Let me just open up this, and people are still joining, which is really wonderful. Okay, I'm opening up the chat. It should be open. Let's jump in there. Symptom management only. Okay, Eileen, thank you for that. Symptom management. Yeah, no weird treatments. Love that. Thank you for saying that. Symptom management, holistic. Love it. Holistic care, no chemo, symptom management. Symptom management, comfort. Try all and have fun. I love that. Symptom management, comfort. Yeah. So here's what the benchmark is. When you have all of your information that we're going to go into tonight, that you can decide with all of that information that you can say, the chances of this being reversed or getting me time is not worth the process, like to do symptom management. So we'll, and I love that. Thank you. Open to considering it all. Yeah, Anne says I would not want to be in pain, but I would want to keep living life. Yeah. So again, that goes back to thank you for all of the honest answers there. Let's talk for a minute about pain, because if you have high levels of pain, and this is where I really emphasize the tight symptom management. If you have pain on a pain scale, it's usually based on a pain scale of 0 to 10, 10 being the most pain you could possibly be in, 0 being no pain. And the rule of thumb is to keep pain at a 4 or below, right? If you have pain of a 7, 8, I don't know if you've ever had one of those migraine headaches or some kind of pain that was relentless. All you could try and do is go from minute to minute to survive it, right? That's all you could think about. So visiting with your friends, doing any kind of, enjoyment of playing a game. I mean, it's just, that's out the window with high pain levels. So absolutely, that is a huge consideration and something that should be a major benchmark within this dynamic. We're going to talk now about the questions to ask your doctor when you are given a serious illness, if it comes about, and this is something you can use with your families as well. When faced with a critical diagnosis, clear and informed conversations with your doctor and family are crucial. Use these questions to ensure that you understand your options and the potential impact on your quality of life. So the first question you want to ask the doctor is, how serious or advanced is this illness? Get an overview, a bird's eye view of it. What happened with one of those gentlemen, which happens with a lot of people, because we don't allow our doctors to have a lot of time with patients. It's very regimented how much time they have with visits. They usually don't have time to go into all of this. And so what the default is that this is what we're seeing on the scan. Monday, you need to show up and you need to start rounds of your chemotherapy. That was the information. So if you can stay with me for a minute and imagine getting a serious diagnosis and being in shock in that moment, and then having somebody, a doctor who's wonderful, say, Monday, you're showing up for starting your chemo regimen. Where is there a moment to breathe? Where is there a moment to gather information, to make really, again, subjective informed decisions for you, which is critically important? So that's the first question. Now, if chemotherapy or other treatments are advised, you want to ask this type of question. With the type of cancer that you're seeing, what staging do I have? Because this is critically important for you to understand where your body is in terms of being able to reverse, being able to understand the data already on chemotherapy with that type of specific staging and cancer, what the outcome may be for you. It's going to allow you to make some really good informed decisions for yourself moving forward. You're going to ask, are there clinical studies that will show how the chemotherapy worked with the cancer and the staging that I have? So now you're going to be collecting your data. You're collecting your data to make what? Subjective informed decisions that are right for you. You're going to ask, how much more time would I likely have if I choose to do the chemotherapy? These are really important questions, because if the answer is you may get 3 to 4 months of extended life, but if that life period is going to be not full of quality and challenging, I might have to say to myself, like the gentleman did in the picture, maybe I'm just going to go home and concentrate on tight symptom management. Again, not saying there's a right or wrong way to do it. The way to do it is making informed, subjective decisions for yourself. You're going to ask, how long would the chemotherapy treatment be? Is it going to be 3 months? And then you want to ask, during the treatment time, what are the side effects that I can expect? This is all data that's known. So with the cancer, with the staging, with the chemo regimen, what most likely can I anticipate experiencing? What would I be subjected to? Am I going to be nauseous? Am I going to be weak? Am I going to be all of those things? Will I be subjected to tingling pain for my nervous system? Whatever it may be, you want to gather all of your information with the recommended treatment. And what would my overall quality of life look like during that time? I know for Robert, it wasn't very good. And again, that was just a personal one journey, but it really was heartbreaking, because watching him with that year, and he had a year, but not be able to take part in family outings and feeling very weak and isolated, was really, really hard to watch him do that. And I know that our families and people love us so very much, but one of the most important things we can do to support our loved ones is support what they would want, not what we would want. And I know when we're fearful that we're going to say goodbye to that person we love, and fear makes us make some really hard choices. Sometimes we many times impose our fear on others, saying, Mom, you've got to fight. You've got to do this. And I think that we have to remember to ask Mom what she wants and what's the most important for her. You want to ask, will I be sick most of the time? Will I be weak most of the time? For me personally, if that would be the case, what's the point? And if it's going to maybe give me 3 to 4 months, I'm going to weigh that out for myself. So these are just really good data points and questions that you want to do to gather that information to make that informed decision for yourself. How likely, doctor, am I to be hospitalized for the chemotherapy complications? Do you expect complications from this regimen? Many times we don't have this information. You know, when I was in the oncology department, people would come in from what you call chemo crashing, and they would say they didn't know any of this, that this would happen. And not that that would have necessarily changed their decision to do the treatment or not, but I think it would have, in context. So again, is it worth it? Are you wanting to do it? And making those really intelligent, informed decisions, and not just for you, but for family members when these places come up in our lives, and we know they're going to. So would it be likely that I might be hospitalized from chemotherapy complications? Because they have the data for that. Will I be unable to do the things that I enjoy? We just started out in a beautiful way with a list of things that brought our day joy. Most of those things needed us to be, conscious, to be present, to not have high levels of nausea or pain. And they brought your the day joy. So we want to really make sure that we understand that, because time that doesn't have quality, to me, what is the point of that? So I'd want to always choose quantity for myself over the quantity if it's not there. And if you've been somebody who's had that 24-hour flu bug and you just feel awful, you know that's what I'm benchmarking it against. You want to ask, do you add in any adjunct therapies to the chemotherapy, such as Reiki, such as nutrition plans, vitamins and mineral supplements? You want to see if it's a holistic approach that they believe in. And what alternatives are there? So put that back in the doctor's court. What alternatives are there? You're saying, okay, this is what 16 rounds of this starting on Monday, but what alternatives are there? And then the question, doctor, what would happen if I choose to do nothing? What would happen if I choose that I don't want to go into that? Because this is the reality, is that each and every one of us will have this journey come to an end at some point. So treating every day as the gift that it is. I want to have that with grace. I want to have that with comfort as much as possible. I want to have that with quality as much as possible. So if this is where I'm headed in this, I want to make sure that my choices support those values. So what would happen if I do nothing? And I know that probably the response is and can be a little curt at times. Well, you're going to have your end of life. Okay. Well, I'm going to have my end of life regardless at some point. So I want to weigh all my options of and I want to breathe, and I want to take a minute. I don't want to rush into any choice. Getting a second, getting a third opinion is always a good thing. Breathing and taking in this moment of where I am in the journey is always a good thing. So we know that if I choose to do nothing at a certain point, I will be looking at my end of life journey, but I know that I'm looking at my end of life journey anyway. So I want it to be with my values and how hopefully that I have that on my terms. So a doula giver pearl here is to always take your time when making decisions after receiving a diagnosis. Never rush or make fear-based choices. You want to breathe. We want to pause and consider getting a second or even a third opinion to better understand your options. Keep in mind that quality of life is your benchmark, not anyone else's. So again, that's why I really wanted you individually to dive into what does quality of life mean to you? What brings your day joy? And when that is absent, when that is not something that can be part of it anymore, then that's part of your benchmark. All right, so let's dialogue on this. Have you or someone you know faced a medical decision where these types of questions would have been helpful? Do you know of a friend? Do you know of a family member that having those questions would have helped you put together information that you can then move forward with choices? And then we're going to discuss how understanding the information better could have changed the outcome. So first, give me in the chat, if you would, yes, you know of a friend or of a family member or even ourselves that would have made a difference with this information, these questions specifically. Let's see what we get. Yeah, lots of yes. Yeah, thank you. Great. Your doctors are yes, my dad. I'm so Suzanne, thank you for sharing that. Yes, yes, yes. Okay. Yes, so much going on here in the chat. I'm so sorry. Okay, Ruth. Yeah, and you're sending me that message directly. Yeah, so definitely. So your doctors are wonderful. I also want you to give doctors a bit of grace in this moment as among all medical professionals. The way that the system is set up in the United States and many other places right now is that it's fragmented and your healthcare workers are having to take care of so many patients with so little time. So the setup really doesn't work at all for anyone. It's a lose across the board. But I also want you to give your doctors and your healthcare workers some grace at this moment, because understanding from the back end how many patients they are required to see and how much documentation. That being said, they are here to serve you. And when you ask these questions, they will answer them. And if they have to make another appointment because their day is blocked, then you make that second appointment to answer all these questions. You have the right to get that. You should be getting that. And they will do that for you. It's just that they're up against a lot. Yeah. So thank you for all of it. My gosh, there's so much yes in this chat and so many stories that you guys are sharing. Okay, so Sherry, she says that, yes, my father was pushed into prolonging life by my mom. Okay, so I surround you with a lot of love for that, but I also want us to know that if we don't talk about this ahead of time and get a pulse on this for ourselves, what we would want or not want, and really the reality here, fear is going to jump right into this and hijack that whole situation, because it's scary when we hear that. And so, yeah, your loved ones are going to force other people into doing things they don't want. Now, that's not to say that that's okay, but it's coming from fear. So having these discussions and pausing and letting your loved ones know why you're choosing what you're choosing for quality of life, and then reminding us all, I know how difficult this moment is, saying goodbye physically to somebody we love, but I also know that the most loving thing we could ever do at this moment is support mom in what she would want and support dad. And knowing that we have that as the action plan, as hard as it is, can be really, really important and really, oh, Sandra said tears now. Yeah, I know this. Okay. A lot of you are sharing your stories in here. Thank you so much for sharing all this. This is so important. Yeah, Laura says, I wish I had these questions when my mom was diagnosed with stage 4 pancreatic cancer that had metastasized. It makes me angry that I wish I would have handled her diagnosis differently. First of all, I want to tell you, Laura, and anyone in this type of scenario, that you did the best you could with where you were at that moment. And that was amazing. Do not get hard on yourself. Please do not look back. Know that this is something that we can share moving forward, because this is critically important to understand that this happens when we don't have the information. So I don't want you to feel bad at all. And I want you to know that you did such an amazing job with where you were, with what you had in your understanding at that moment. So please, no feeling bad about any of that. but I do understand what you're saying. So lots of you are sharing that you've had your personal experience with that and how this would have changed it. What I want to share with you all moving forward that have had these experiences is that when you can share this information with other people, when you can let them know, it's almost like your story can help other people to not get caught into that moment and the importance of them making sure that they choose and taking part in the free seminar, posting it, letting them know the difference, because that's how we can not only pay it forward that other people cannot fall into that same situation, but it can also help to heal some of our past of what we wish we maybe would have done if we had known any better. So thank you all for that, and sending so much love to this group, because there are so many comments in here that are really heartbreaking. And I want to thank you for that, for all of those shares. This is why we're here. This is what fuels this education and this movement. And your stories are what gives, again, almost jet fuel. I don't know if I could be more passionate about what I do, but it's those stories, because we cannot go back and do them again. And we have so many people that are going to be, we're in that generation. We're caring for our parents that are elderly. We have an elder population that we've never seen before in history. We have got to have education and systems in place so that it can be a much more positive experience. Difficult enough. We don't want to make it more difficult. So thank you for all of your shares. So here you are, getting information and empowering yourself through knowledge and advocacy changes something that feels many times like an out of control feeling into an empowering one. We were talking today in the Doula Givers graduate meeting, and people were talking about how they were sharing, planning ahead, and all of the choices that we have available to us today, and how when they're working with clients, the clients are saying, wow, I didn't know I had all these choices. I could have a living funeral. I can have a water cremation. I can have a life celebration. Like, there's lots of choices, and it turns an experience that oftentimes feels out of control into an empowering one. And it should be, again, a subjective one. So the key takeaways here are medical terminology and limited appointment time, which we have to very much acknowledge from our doctors, often make it difficult to understand all of your options. Consider having a designated person or an elder care doula accompany you and advocate for you during your doctor's visits. Many times it goes very quick, and doctors will often skirt around issues, and they assume you know what they're talking about, and they assume they know what you're trying to say. And I will tell you that if you give families one glimmer of hope, they're going to hold on to that. And so we want to be very careful what we say as medical practitioners, but also the terminology that we use. It can be very confusing, and as we know, it goes very quick. The elder care doula can also help explain the medical jargon and communicate important details to your family. This should be a family discussion where you take your breath, you have a second opinion, you put all of it together, and then you make the decision that's right for you. Empower yourself with information so you can make decisions that honor your goals and your values. Remember that this is your journey. And when you share with your family what you want and why you want it, because if I can't recognize you, if I can't interact with you, and if I am dependent on you caring for me with everything, that's not living to me. I don't want it for me, and I don't want it for my family. I want to make sure they understand that. And a doula giver's pearl is making a choice based on desires of others or incomplete information can lead you down a path that you may not be able to reverse. Once that's set in motion and you're weaker and weaker, it's very difficult to reverse that. I can't tell you how many people that I've had in the oncology unit say, Suzanne, I just want to go home. Why am I in the hospital? At their end of life, they just wanted to be home, but it was not reversible really at the time, and there was no time to actually put that all in motion. So focusing on what you and your values are, and then making sure you choose that ahead of time. What role do you think that an advocate or an elder care doula, someone not in your family, someone in addition to it, or somebody who has that gift that understands this could play in helping you or a loved one make medical decisions. Do you think that would be helpful to have them come with you? You know, there's a lot of times, and I have to tell you, when it's not me, it's not the person, I'm able to really advocate, to think, to ask those questions. What would you think of having somebody come to be your advocate to ask that list of questions to the doctor? What do you think that difference would make for that experience? I'll tell you, I think it would make a lot. So just give me a yes or no if you think having an advocate to bring that list of questions would be really helpful in the appointment, so that you can gather all of your information and then writing down the answers to that, and then coming back and being able to meet with your family and go through all of the answers to those questions and then have a group discussion. Yeah. Here's what happens, everyone. When we hear shocking news about something for the first, it's like you shut down. You might not hear anything else that the doctor said. And what I will tell you is what they follow up with is critically important, that you want to hear what they said. And so all I heard, and this is what my families tell me, all I heard is that I have cancer. All that I heard was they didn't hear anything else. How can we then make decisions? How can we share? So having a third party person that can come ask those questions, not only ask them, but write them down, and then be able to keep a book, bring a family meeting together, go over it with you. Yeah, I love that. Christine says, I always bring a notebook with questions. Beautiful. Perfect. And this is something we have to get really keen on doing, not just at the end of life, but for your doctor's appointments, because you know how quickly they go. So you want to make sure that you have everything. So having an elder care advocate and having somebody there for you as a third party. Yeah. Thank you guys. That's beautiful. I love that. Okay. Yeah. It makes all the difference in the world. So in conclusion, by understanding what quality of life means to you and asking the right questions, it's possible to make well-informed, meaningful choices that align with your goals and your values. Recognizing when to prioritize symptom management and create peace over unnecessary and potentially painful treatments can bring clarity and dignity to even the most difficult circumstances. I promise you that. And I hope that and wish that for every single person. Bringing back the sacredness of death brings back the sacredness of life. And together, this is how we change the world. I want to thank you so much for being here. You are the change. People that are stepping forward, getting the information, sharing it with others. This is how we change the world. And also, if you've been following and with us, you know that when we talk in this space, we talk about what people at the end of life say about what they want you to know. They talk about how we are all connected, that there is no death, that everything was meant as a supportive experience for you to grow in your being part of who you are, that time is your greatest commodity, and presence, true presence, non-judgmental true presence is the best medicine we can share and give to each other. And it's free, and we can do that every single day. All right, everyone. I hope you enjoyed that as much as I did. There's so much information there for you. Again, please make sure that you grab your book, The Good Death, because it is launching soon. And the masterclass, the bonus of the masterclass is coming up, and it's going to be an incredible live one-day event. So the link is below. Grab your book. And thank you so much for being part of the Good Death movement. I'll see you in the next episode.